What's up, guys? It's Ashley with the Mountaintops back again for week 15 going into 16. For most people, quarterfinals going into semifinals in the playoffs. Insane we're already this far, but I can't do this alone. So, Jeremy, how are you today? My amazing co-host.
Oh, look at you. Look at this. Look at this banter. I love it. I am doing just fine. A little upset that we are approaching week 16. There is nothing more important besides my wife and kids in my life than the NFL, and to see that the season has come and gone so quickly is a little disappointing. But instead of groveling over the season that's passed, we're about to hit the thick of it. So let's get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is big time in football right now. So we're going to talk about Week 15, the week that was, injuries, takeaways, and standouts, as we do every week. Also, some updates that we want to let you know about for Week 16. Also, some flex options for Week 16, and then our extra little piece today, as we have every week, is going to be trade database. We've done this a few different times. We're going to pick one player from each position. That's going to be quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and tight end. We do not pay attention to defense and kickers very often, so they don't get traded very often, so we don't worry about those. But the four main positions in fantasy football here, and who those biggest trade targets are and what they're getting traded for and why, in our opinion. So we'll talk about that at the end here. But going into Week 15, we have a dozen injuries to talk about. That seems like a lot to me.
Not fun, sir. Not fun.
Yeah, no.
Especially this time of year with fantasy playoffs around the corner, if not the thick of it. Not good times to have this many injuries.
Yeah, we always start with the negative, and it being the injuries, of course. So we're going to start off here. Patrick Mahomes, we'll start off right at the top. The dude in everyone's eyes. Patrick Mahomes, ACL out for the season. We will talk about in the offseason what's going to happen, what it looks like next year. But with an ACL, 9 months probably usually takes 9 to 12 months is what I hear. So we'll see what happens there. He does heal a little bit differently than most people, though, so we'll see. But done for this season. If you had him on your team, I apologize. Someone we don't talk about very often is anyone on the defense. However, when it's one of the top three players on the defense, in my opinion, we talk about it real quick because it does affect your lineups. Micah Parsons, ACL, out for the season as well for the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers got a little bit easier to throw against and run against. So they're not as difficult as what their number beside them says there anymore. Christian Watson, chest injury for the Packers as well, released from hospital. I hear that he's doing better. Apparently his father is the one who's telling everyone what's going on and said that he's fine, which is good. I haven't heard too much else on that. So
I heard the same. Yeah, I heard the same. He avoided major injury. I'm not anticipating him to miss significant amount of time.
All right, perfect. Woody Marks, ankle injury. Coach said he could have returned if the game was in doubt. However, it was not. I'm 50-50 on this because some coaches say that people could return and then they're out the next week. And some people say that they could have returned and they actually could have returned, like A-Chan last week. So we'll see what happens there. I'm a little... for my own self, I hope Woody Marks is okay because I need him.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we'll see. This has been definitely a lingering injury. I think he's been battling this ankle for about 4 or 5 weeks now. It seems like this is the second time that he got taken out of a game and, quote, could have come back if he needed to for this ankle. So I'm really interested to see how they continue to play him out the rest of the weekend this season.
Yeah, it might be a rookie playing on veteran on the veteran tab there. Like, if you're up big, you just take him out. I don't know. So we'll see that. Devontae Adams, hamstring, not likely to play Thursday just because it's a short week. I don't know if you saw this, Jeremy, but it looked like someone sniped him from the stands.
Yeah,
I've seen this before. Oh, it hurts. Trust me. I know. It happened to me one time.
It looked like he tore it. They didn't come out and say anything, but the way that he immediately dropped and everything, it looked as if he did something significant to it. I'm hoping for the best for him. Short week, like you said, Thursday. It's going to be tough to get him suited up, especially being he wasn't 100% as is with his hamstrings. So with it being pulled or re-aggravated, I can anticipate him out at least a week.
Yeah, especially going against a tough defense. That's going to be an interesting game for the Rams now, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. Bam Knight has an ankle injury left in the second half, likely out week 16 from what I hear. Michael Carter would be the next man up for that team if there is anyone left.
Bam Knight as of this afternoon, so it's kind of recent. Bam Knight actually was placed on IR, so his season is done. So Bam Knight's season's over with. It's going to be the Michael Carter show for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and whoever else is behind him, if there is anybody. They're dropping like flies. It's crazy.
They are.
Luther Burden, ankle injury, did not return day-to-day. We'll see. If Luther Burden's out, DJ Moore fire him up, I guess. I don't even know. Because Roma Dunze has a foot injury with a stress reaction. Like 15 minutes before the game, he was called out. And sorry for your luck if you weren't paying attention 15 minutes before the game to find that out and be able to take him out of your lineup. I'm sure that probably hurt you, but he is also likely out for week 16. So even though the Bears are in first place in their division, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I am a little bit more optimistic of Burden playing this week than I am Rome, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Hopefully Luther Burden will be able to get out there. He's been starting to find the ball a little bit more there. Tyler Lockett, wrist injury, did not return. Haven't heard much on that one.
Neither.
Devin Neal, hamstring, left in the first half, did not return. Who knows? I haven't heard anything on this one either.
I have not either. Yeah, I have not heard anything on him or Kamara. So it's interesting to see what happens this upcoming week.
Yeah, I don't even know who their next guy is. Is it Audric Estime?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Well, he might get a chance here. And then Devon Vele, shoulder injury, did not return. And Bashal Tootin, finger injury, had surgery. So he's going to be out for a few weeks, back for the playoffs. If you're riding Etienne, you're going to ride him even harder. Is what it seems like to me. And maybe get a little bit of that LaQuinn Allen, a little bit of him playing a little bit more there. Anything I missed or anything you want to add on to?
No, once again, you bat clean up really well. Nothing else that I have to take away from this. Injuries are always a black eye in our podcast, but they need to be discussed, especially for fantasy-related purposes. But I think we nailed it, sir.
Awesome. Then we'll move on to the updates real quick. Jets fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes. Don't think that was the problem. Think they just don't have very good defensive players because they
traded away they're arguably their best two players. They traded them away mid-season. Like, I feel bad for Wilkes because he got dealt a rough hand, and then like we said, they traded Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams in the middle of the season. So hey.
And those were the only two that were really left from that vaunted defense a couple of years ago. So I don't really understand this, but whatever. Someone has to be the scapegoat, and it's really funny that the head coach is a defensive guy and fired the defensive coordinator. Anyway, we'll move on. Phillip Rivers will start for the Colts this week. See, this is what good teams do. Phillip Rivers will start for the Colts this week. We'll see what happens in the future. So that's what I've heard. Anything you wanted to say about Phillip Rivers? 140 yards, I think he had.
Yeah, 140 yards, the passing touchdown against that stout Seattle defense that we talked about. Look, I was not anticipating him to have the game that he did. I was not anticipating him to come out and throw for 300 yards. But I was not anticipating him to come out and have at least this type of game. I was expecting to see him maybe 2 quarters and him get either injured or his arm blow out. He impressed me, and he knows the Shane Steichen system very well. Obviously, a little bit better than Riley Leonard. So, wheels up on Phillip Rivers at least for next week, and it sounds like it's going to be a week-to-week project for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're in the heart of the playoff hunt right now. They're out.
Of course,
8, I think, but Phillip Rivers getting them in the playoffs would have been an incredible story if it does happen. And then finally, Jaden Daniels out for the year. We said this like 5 weeks ago. It should have happened, but he's not put on. He's not put on IR because he still is going to be able to practice. So it's not super serious. It's just the fact that they don't want to chance it in the games, but he still wants to get the reps, is what it sounds like. That's what I kind of overheard in some of the podcasts that I heard. That's what I got out of it, at least. So pretty interesting, smart way to play this, I think, for a second-year guy who got banged up quite a few times this year.
Great point. And again, when the season's a loss, which the Commanders season is, it's not worth it, especially when you have a guy who's your franchise quarterback. He had a gruesome elbow injury, and it was subject to debate to bring him back. And then he brought it back and re-aggravated it within 2 quarters. So I think they are definitely making the right decision. And by, quote, benching him for the rest of the season, letting that elbow get healthy, allowing him to stay a part of the team, obtain the reps that are important. And we'll see you next year, Damon.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully he'll return to his form that he was 2 years or last year rather than the form this past year. So we'll see you next year. And then the only takeaway I really had was a decade is over. The Chiefs missed the playoffs. And obviously Patrick Mahomes going down with an injury at the end of that game doesn't help anything for their chances next year either. But still, incredible run. Not saying it's over by any stretch, but the run of consecutive years being in the playoffs and what they were able to accomplish, very impressive. But we'll see who the new AFC champions are going to be.
I don't wish injury on anybody. These are humans. Like, these are dads, right, husbands. Like, but if the Patriots, the Chiefs could get eliminated in any weekend, this was the weekend to get eliminated. There were so many things at the beginning of Red Zone that I watched. They were talking about, so 3 teams needed to win, plus them losing for them to be eliminated. And I was like, well, it's not going to happen this week. Well, it did. It happened. And I wouldn't wish injuries on anybody, but I'm glad it happened when it did, because as much as I have respect for Gardner Minshew, I can't see a AFC team that deserves to be in the playoffs, say like a Pittsburgh, for example, if they don't win the division, or Ravens if they don't win the division. I hate to see a team that would be better off in the playoffs than have a Gardner Minshew Chiefs ran team. So, I mean, I'm sorry to see Patrick Mahomes go down, but I'm a little bit relieved to see the Chiefs be eliminated in the same weekend. That way we don't have to worry about backup quarterbacks going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing about the Colts, to be honest with you. But I get what you're saying about the Chiefs. We're talking about the Chiefs, and I get what you're saying there. Definitely would be an uphill battle for the Chiefs if they were in the playoffs against any of these teams. It seems like that are especially on the top of the leaderboard there. Yeah, I mean, not much else I really wanted to talk about takeaways wise. I mean, we're in week 15 going on to 16. There's not much new stuff coming. The Saints have full. I will say that.
Full agreement. It's wheels up. It's go time. It's the teams. There's no more questions on what teams are good and what teams are bad. It's a matter of what teams are going to make it, what teams are going to get left out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we're at now. I think it's a little too early for mock drafts for these other teams. So yeah, it's wheels up, and let's see how the final 14 finish.
Absolutely. So moving on, we have our standouts. 2 players. We're going back to our old format since we don't have a guest this week. 2 players per position, per person. So we got 4 players for you for each position. First off, we're going to start out with quarterback, and I'm going to go with QB1 on the week, Trevor Lawrence. Yes, QB1, Trevor Lawrence. 20 for 32, 330 yards, 5 touchdowns, and then 5 carries for 51 yards and another touchdown. Just an absolutely incredible day. 6 touchdowns. Had a remarkable day for the Jaguars there, and they just absolutely bashed this past weekend. So love to see the Trevor Lawrence that I saw in Clemson finally start to come to fruition. This the double-headed monster of Clemson for the Jaguars is finally starting to come together because of this, in my opinion, genius of Liam Cohen. He's the only one who's been able to get this going. So wheels up on them. Kirk Cousins, quarterback 3, 30 for 44 for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns. All 3 to one guy, and we'll talk about him later on, but still 3 touchdowns and 30 completions. So Kirk Cousins still got a little bit of juice left in that arm that everyone thought was dead. However, if people remember, he had 2 good games last year, and they were both against the Bucs. Guess who he played this past weekend? The Bucs. So he could play the Bucs, but really nobody else. So we'll see what happens next week, as he will be the starter going forward. As Penix is probably out, I think is out for the season if I'm not mistaken. So moving on for you, mate.
Yeah, you are correct. Penix is out for the year, so it looks like we're going to have the Kirk Cousins show for the rest of the year, especially with that season now a loss for Atlanta. And I'm glad you took Trevor Lawrence, because if you wouldn't have, I would have. So I'm glad he got his flowers here on our podcast this week. The 2 quarterbacks I want to go with are a rarity. I've done this once or twice in this season. They're both in the same game. We had ourselves one heck of a shootout, and if you're a big fan of storylines, I am a massive fan of storylines. I'm a wrestling fan, so therefore storylines are the nucleus of everything that I do. We had Stafford versus Goff, round 4. One of the biggest trades of this era was Stafford and Goff being switched with first-round picks being involved and players being involved. And every single time that the Rams and the Lions get together, it seems to be a fireworks shootout with these 2 quarterbacks that were involved in the trade. And this week did not disappoint. 915 total yards, 915 total yards, 6.98 yards per play. We had ourselves a good old-fashioned shootout here in a 45-34 win for the Rams. Matthew Stafford went 24 for 38 for 368 yards. He had 2 touchdowns to 1 interception. Jared Goff went 25 for 41 for 338, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. So I wanted to give the props to this particular game. I'm a massive Stafford fan. Much respect for Goff, and when these 2 get together with trades passed, it's always a fun shootout to see happen.
Yeah, for me, seeing them play each other and both teams being better than when they had the other quarterback just doesn't make sense to me, but it's true. Jared Goff.
That's a great call. It's a great call. The call out about how both of these teams have impressed.
Yeah, and for Jared Goff being able to put up 35, I believe, on this defense that is one of the top 5 to 7 defenses in the game, probably. Impressive. So, not looking forward to the Steelers game next week.
It should be interesting to see how that one plays out. That's for sure. Hey, I'm in for another shootout. Let's do it. We'll use this time to transition to our running backs. The first running back I wanted to touch base with is James Cook, the running back 1 of the week. He had 24 total touches, 111 total yards, 107 of those were rushing, 4 of which were receiving. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown on the day. He hit 100 scrimmage yards for his 5th consecutive time. So I wanted to give props to James Cook. 5 consecutive games, he's hit 100 scrimmage yards, and he's actually hit 100 scrimmage yards 11 out of the 14 games this year for the Buffalo Bills. So Cook continues to have himself one heck of a season, and he did not hold back last week. RB1 of the week. The other one I wanted to mention is Jahar Jordan. Some of you were like, who is this? This is a rookie running back out of the Houston Texans. He is the 4th string on the depth chart. However, he was running back 18 on the day. I want to give him a shout out because, again, this was his first career game where he actually had some significant touches. Chubb did not suit up. He was inactive. So we had Jordan in there, and then we had Woody Marks, as mentioned earlier, lose some time with the injured ankle. So Jordan came in, and he did not disappoint. He had 17 total touches, 118 total yards, 101 of those were rushing, 17 of receiving, which also shows that he is capable of both in the backfield. And his longest was a 50-yarder. So Jordan's coming out to play, and news as of about an hour prior to our podcast, Jordan was signed to the full roster. So I don't know if that tells you the fate of Nick Chubb's rest of the season, or what they felt on Jordan. But nevertheless, Jordan is going to be on the rotation here going forward.
Yeah, I definitely thought Wale was going to be playing today over whoever they had left. I didn't even know who Jordan was, to be honest with you. And I did a lot of research for the running backs last year. But pretty cool to see someone no name, absolute no name, get an actual contract because of what he did in one game. So that was cool to see. James Cook, man, he is on fire, pun intended. But someone else that is on fire, Trevion Henderson, running back 3, 14 carries, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had caught 2 out of 3 of the balls for 13 yards. Finally, they're starting to play him more than Stevenson. We saw glimpses of this whenever Stevenson was fully out. And then they decided to play Stevenson a little bit more when he came back the last couple of weeks. And Henderson didn't have as good a days, and it was about 50-50. I think the split was about 40-60, 35-65, something like that. But the explosiveness of Henderson, I know I probably talk about him almost every week. I forget who I pick every week. But he has just been absolutely money when he gets the opportunities. DeAndre Swift, someone else has been money. DeAndre Swift, running back 7 on the week, 18 carries, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just a normal week for him at this point. Top 10. He's got to be close to the top 5 running backs for the year. The way he's been playing the back third to back half of the year at least. So wanted to mention him again because I know we were getting a lot of Manungai love the last few weeks, and Swift is still that dude.
Swift is still that dude. I'm glad you gave him a shout out here. The stat line does not disappoint. I don't know why it's such a surprise for some people. It's still a surprise to me even. I'm not saying that I'm the know-it-all be-all here, but Ben Johnson was very successful with 2 running backs in Detroit, and it looks as if he's trying to do the same thing again. So Swift definitely taking advantage of that formation and collaboration with Ben Johnson. Trevion Henderson has definitely stepped out to be one of the bright spot running backs of this rookie class, if not the running back of the rookie class. His explosive ability is just off the charts. I read somewhere where he has 2 plays in his rookie year where he's over 50 yards and a touchdown, and he's only the second Patriot ever to do that, or something on those crazy stat lines. So props to Henderson, props to Swift, and props to you for these great calls.
Hey, thank you. Also, I heard today that Trevion Henderson's the favorite to be the rookie of the year. He's played less than half the year. That's hilarious to me. So I couldn't believe when I saw that statistic. But anyway, we're going to move on to wide receivers. Someone who we haven't talked about in a while, Cortland Sutton, wide receiver 6, 7 catches on 10 targets, 113 yards and a touchdown. He's the old head on that team. Not that he's old, but he's the old head on that team, wide receiver wise. But he still just keeps turning these consistent games out, playing really well this year. Jameson Williams, wide receiver 3. I just have to make a comment real quick that he's wide receiver 3 and Amon-Ra St. Brown was wide receiver 1. They play on the same team. Well done, Jared Goff. 7 catches on 9 targets, 134 yards and a touchdown. 7 of 9 games. I couldn't believe when I heard this. 7 of 9 games, or the past 9 games, he was wide receiver 15 or better. Now, granted, the 2 games that he wasn't, he had a 0. But 7 of 9 games, he was top 15 wide receiver, which is really impressive. There's not many players in the NFL that can say that, outside of maybe JSN and Puka possibly. But that's about it. He has been very good this back half of the year as well. Middle to back half of the year.
Yeah, I traded for him in our one league, and I was hoping it would help me prevail to the playoffs. But unfortunately, one of those games where he had a 0 was the game that I played him, and I needed him. But yeah, I've been a big Jameson Williams fan since he got drafted. I had to be patient with the knee injury, ACL rehab. I had to be patient with the gambling suspension. but everything's paying off. He's definitely showing his true colors, and when Dan Campbell's making the play calls, look out. He's definitely propelling really well. The wide receiver two wide receivers I want to talk about is one, just to mention, similar to what your Courtland Sutton was, somebody we haven't talked about in a little bit, not necessarily because of his performance, but because of his absence, Mike Evans. His first game back since he injured his collarbone in 6 weeks, and he did not disappoint. He picked up right where he left off. Mike Evans is like, hey, I got 3 more games this year. Let's try to hit that 1,000-yard mark anyway. He went 6 for 12, 132 total yards, which averaged out to be a 22 yards per catch for Mike Evans in the day. Again, it was his first game back from his collarbone injury. It's great to see him go back into transition. Baker loves him some Mike Evans. Mike Evans loves him some Baker, and it was great to see those two connect once again. The other wide receiver I wanted to give a shout out to was you gave shout out to Jamison Williams from the Detroit game. I wanted to give shout out to Puka Nacua from that same game. It's a good day at the office if you can go the whole duration with no touchdowns and you can still eclipse 20 points in a half PPR format. He went 9 for 11 and 189 total yards. He had 2 rushes for 8 yards, and he had 181 other total yards. But he averaged out to be a 20.1 yards per catch area. And he had himself a good day. It was his new high for receiving yards just 1 week after missing his previous high of 170 by only 3 yards against Zona. So he had 167 yards. His personal high was 170 up until just last week where he crushed it with 189 total yards from Puka Nacua.
Yeah, that's something super impressive. Wide receiver 2 and no touchdowns. It's hard to do with all the touchdowns that come through. So very impressive day for Puka. Mike Evans, I'm so happy he's back. It's not the same without him. So glad to see him play and basically pick up where he's always been with Baker. Just absolutely a dog. So good to see him back.
I use this transition time to move over to our tight ends. The first tight end I wanted to talk about was Dalton Schultz. I've always liked Dalton Schultz back in his days in Dallas, and what he's doing now in Houston is especially with a busy wide receiving room, he's doing well. He went 8 for 9. It was one of his better games. He went 8 for 9 for 76 total yards, and he had a touchdown on a day. He averaged about 9.5 yards per catch, which is solid for a tight end. He had 6+ receptions in 5 of his last 7 games. And in my opinion, should be a decent option next week, I guess, against Las Vegas as well. The other tight end I wanted to talk about was a tight end that is near and dear to both Mickey and I's hearts, Trey McBride. Man, oh man, did he step up and show why he is tight end 1 this year. He's the first tight end in the NFL with 100+ receptions, 1,000+ yards, and 10+ touchdowns in his first 14 games. That has not been done by Brock Bowers. That's not been done by Gonzalez. That's not been done by the Kelseys. It's not been done by the tight ends of the world. First 14 games, Trey McBride did it. He has had 5+ receptions in 16 consecutive games, which is a record for a tight end. He is the first tight end in NFL to go back-to-back with 100+ receptions. And furthermore, he needs 12 more catches in the last 3 games to break the tight end record set by Zach Ertz of 116. So Trey's had himself one hell of a finish of a season. And ironically, he needs 12 catches to break the record. He got 12 catches just this last week. So I'm optimistic that Zach Ertz's record is doomed by courtesy of Mr. Trey McBride. He went 12 for 13, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns in the day. And Trey McBride was a big contributor to my championship team. I needed him big time because he went head-to-head with ETN, and ETN was killing me at the 1 o'clock hour. But Trey McBride, nevertheless, Hall of Fame day, career day for Trey McBride. Definitely needed his flowers in our podcast.
Yeah, I could talk about Trey McBride for a while. How good he's been. We called Kelsey a cheat code. We said that Bowers had that ability and McBride wasn't too far off. McBride's been a cheat code this year. I mean, flat out. Absolute cheat code. If you have him as your tight end, you probably are winning more than you're losing just because of him. To be honest with you, because he has been unbelievable. And with Brissett, he's been even better than that. So Yeah, I could talk about Trey forever. Um, Dalton Schultz, I love seeing this because, like, I just like the guy. I've liked him since the Cowboys. I've trusted him as a tight end for me in redrafts a lot, and picked him up in Dynasty just in case it started to happen, and of course it has. And when CJ Stroud's feeling it, Schultz is one of his main targets. Um, and that's how I know that CJ's back. So really nice to see both of these guys on the list. For me, Trey McBride might be number one on the year. However, number two this week because some 24-year-old guy who everyone said is washed just went ape on the NFL. 11 catches, 12 targets. I don't even have to say his name, do I? Kyle Pitts, tight end one. 11 catches on 12 targets, like I said, 166 yards, count them, 3 touchdowns by a tight end. Caught the only 3 touchdowns that Kirk Cousins threw, as I said earlier. Absolutely incredible day. If you waited or if you traded for him because of how low his price has been, really, well done. He's tight end 3 on the year, from what I understand, or from what I read. Now, probably this one game could have catapulted him 10 spots because of how the tight end position is. But he had a heck of a day this week. Probably won you most weeks. I almost got Kyle pitted, and then my team ended up scoring over 200 points, so that didn't happen. But I almost got Kyle pitted myself. And the other guy for me this week is Dallas Goedert. He had a great week as well. Tight end 5 on the week. 6 catches, 7 targets, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. AJ Brown, who? Devontae Smith, who? It was Dallas Goedert this week. And one of those guys usually eats every single week, except for last week because they all sucked. But moving forward, Goddard has to be one of those targets for you because this is just what the Eagles do. You don't know which one it's going to be, but if it's their week, they're gonna feast. So Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert, heck of a weeks.
I was watching Red Zone and I saw Goddard score both of his touchdowns. And the way that they utilize him in the red zone is how I feel that they should utilize most tight ends. Because like he hit him on like an insane pitch on a fake handoff, a fake play action to Saquon Barkley. I hit him on a pitch that like fake that the camera guy. I think that's Scott Hansen. Like it was just overall, it was just very impressive. So I'm glad you mentioned Goddard. And of course, if you weren't going to mention Pitts, I was. He needed to be mentioned. 3 touchdowns on the day. He almost hit 50 points on some PPR formats. He wrecked hundreds of people's seasons. He helped make hundreds of people's seasons, but he also wrecked a bunch of people going into that, not identifying Kyle Pitts as a tight end threat, and him going, as you said, ape on you.
Yeah, I mean, I had Trey McBride in this same game. It was the game that I lost. It was the game I lost. So I had Kyle Pitts, I had Trey McBride in the game. But Thursday night, I'm looking at almost 50 burger, and I'm like, well, fun week this is going to be.
Yeah, man.
And then Trey McBride comes through with the third, almost 40-point game, and I'm like, okay, we're still in it then. But the rest of the team just didn't do anything, and he had some studs this past week. So things happen. We didn't talk about that before we move on to the week that is. How did you say that you successfully are moving forward into the finals?
Yeah. Props to Honey Badger, our guest last week. The hard fought battle, but yeah, I went into last week up by about 2.5 points, and I ended up winning by about 20. He didn't have Pickens and Dak Stack show up for him the way they needed to Sunday night, and I had Trey McBride and Tabuka Nakua, so that obviously helped me. But yeah, my one playoff that I'm in is that 2-week playoff, and the finals start this weekend, and then going up against the undefeated commissioner. I played him once this weekend. I played him once this season, and he beat me by about 15, and he has not lost. So I'm hoping to be the 2007 Giants and go in there and upset someone.
Call it a three-peat, baby. There you go. Yeah. Unfortunately, our guest last week did not have a good week.
No.
Because he ended up scoring 180 points in our league. No, it's a start 12, so it's a lot, and no defense, no kicker, so it's a lot of points. But he did lose. He would have beaten both other teams that played in the winners bracket. However, he played me, and I scored 213. So, unfortunately, he did lose in that one. And then I lost the other two ones that I had this week. I told you about the Trey McBride team, and my keeper team shouldn't even have been in the playoffs, to be honest with you. I was just the better of the worst. I was like that. It was really 5 good teams, and then 4 or 5 good teams, and then everybody else. And I luckily was the best out of everybody else. But I have a bye, so I got in my redraft league. I know we don't talk too much redraft, but we'll see what happens. I got 2 teams left, so we'll keep you updated. For me, especially, and you, we need to talk about some flex options for this week since it is the semifinals. So we're going to start with your number 5.
All right, yeah, my number 5, I'm going to make Luther Burden. I'm going to make him my number 5 just because, like I mentioned, I'm a little optimistic that he plays, and I'm a little pessimistic that Rome Odunze does not. So I'm going to go with Luther Burden against the Green Bay Packers as my number 5 flex. Week 15, he had 6 catches for 84 yards. So he already produced effectively against the Packers this season as well when they played him a few weeks ago. He had 4 catches for 67 yards. Despite playing part-time role for the season, he efficiently has 2.28 yards per route run, and he's at a 76% high catch rate of the season. So, again, I don't anticipate Odunze. I do anticipate Burden, and with the numbers that he is initially having out of the get-go with Caleb Williams, I like him to be productive.
No, I love the call, especially if Rome's not there. DJ Moore's a nice target, but he's probably going to get one or double teamed is my guess. So Luther Burden could be that X factor in the game. Good call there. I want to say caveat and say sometimes the process works, the names are wrong. So Jalen Naylor, I told you Jordan Addison was going to have a day. I meant Jalen Naylor, of course. And because who wouldn't, right? And then, unfortunately, Chris Rodriguez didn't play, who I thought was going to have a day. Well, Bill JCM ended up having that day because there was no Rodriguez. So I apologize to anyone who listened to me. Hopefully you saw that Rodriguez didn't play. Moving on. My number 5 this week, Devonta Smith versus the Commanders' defense. It's pretty much all you need to say. However, they're tied 3rd most receiving touchdowns allowed with 28, 4th most receiving yards allowed with 3,638 as well. And Goddard had a day. A.J. Brown had 2 good days prior to that. Devonta Smith had been kind of quiet, so guess who's probably going to get the ball this week in my eyes, and who I need to get the ball as well, just saying, in both of my leagues. So this might be a little bit of a hope show too. But Devonta Smith, usually they alternate, like I said, between him, Brown, and Goddard. So I think it's going to be Smith this week.
I'm okay with that. I too have a stock in Devonta Smith, and I could use him this week immensely. So I will be a big fan of him producing. And you're right. They seem to go in streaks. They, as in the Eagles wide receivers. And he has had about 4 quiet weeks here. So Devonta Smith, let's hope he explodes, because if he does have his day, he will have a day. So let's hope it's one of those situations. My number 4 flex is going to be Omarion Hampton against the Dallas Cowboys. In his first game back from his ankle fracture, week 14, Hampton played a limited snap share, but still split touches with Kamali Vidal. They each had about 15. And then in week 15, just this past week, he served as the lead back. He was outpacing Vidal on carries and rush yards. I expect to see his snap count increase further as he gets healthier. Dallas definitely has improved the run game, especially with the trades they made. But they still rank tied for 2nd in the league for rushing touchdowns allowed this season. So that gives high potential to Hampton, in my opinion. And Hampton is one of those running backs that does pass and catch in the backfield. So he actually had a catching touchdown in week 14, his first game back. So I expect him to utilize him and get in the end zone. And then lastly, the game does have a high projected total point over under. So I'm expecting this to be a high scoring game between the two high powered offenses. So let's see what happens here. And I'm if I have Hampton, I'm firing him up.
Yeah, he waited this long to for his injury. You got to start him once he's back. He looked really good before the injury. He's starting to look himself again. I love this call. For me, I'm going with another rookie running back, and it terrifies me that I'm saying this. However, all the numbers make sense. So Quinshon Judkins, is facing the Bills defense, who led up the most rush touchdowns in 23. Tied third most 20-plus yard runs with 13, and third most rush yards allowed with 2,004. All of this to say, yes, I understand he hasn't been good lately. However, if he can't get it now, you might as well drop him because he's never going to get it. This is one of the worst run defenses. It's one of the best pass defenses. I've said this multiple weeks. And typically the running back goes off against the Bills. I would fire him up if I had any shares of him. I think you should too.
I like it. I do have a share of him, and I will fire him up because you told me to. So I like that.
No refunds.
My number 3 is going to be a tight end. It's going to be Colby Parkinson out of the Los Angeles Rams. They're going against the Seattle Seahawks this week. Week 15, Parkinson had his best game of the season, securing 5 catches for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been a top fantasy tight end since week 10, largely because of his exceptional touchdown rate. He has 6 touchdowns in the past 6 games, and it helps because he's a primary red zone target for Matthew Stafford, also approaching a week without Davante Adams. So that would be something to keep an eye on. While Seattle does have an elite overall defense, they do have a noticeable soft spot against tight ends. In their last 8 games, 5 opposing tight ends have scored 10 or more fantasy points against Seattle's defense. And Parkinson himself caught a touchdown against them in week 11. So in my opinion, I think Parkinson is definitely going to be that nice factor if and when Davante Adams gets scratched for Matthew Stafford in the red zone.
I love this call. Everywhere is saying this, and I 100% agree with you. They play a lot of 13 personnel. I don't know if you said that or not, which is 1 wide receiver, 3 tight ends, because they have 3 tight ends that are better than their 3rd wide receiver. So now that they only have 1 wide receiver, you might see 13 personnel the entire football game, honestly, because their 3 tight ends are pretty good. So I love this call by you. For me, we haven't talked about the Steelers enough, so I'm going to go to a Steeler. DK Metcalf playing the Lions defense, who is insanely banged up in the defensive backs. We just saw Matthew Stafford absolutely dice their defense. They're allowing the most 20-plus yard catches with 54, and they're tied 3rd most receiving touchdowns with 28. You see DK Metcalf score in the last 2 weeks. I think he gets another one this week. And I don't think even if they double team, it's going to matter. Especially with Thielen and MVS, it looks like it kind of opened up more for DK Metcalf because you do have to pay attention to those two. It's not, no offense to Calvin Austin, but it's not the younger guys who aren't proven. It's 2 guys who are very reputable, and DK Metcalf has been going off since then. So I do see him stepping up again this week. I'd fire him up.
Love it. We don't get enough Steeler love on our flex positions.
There's a reason for that, by the way.
Oh, it's true, yes. But there's also a reason why DK Metcalf was picked this week. Lions secondary is atrocious, so wheels up on DK Metcalf. My number 2 is going to be Michael Wilson out of the Arizona Cardinals against the Atlanta Falcons this week. I'm going with the same exact gut feeling as I'm going with Luther Burden and Rome Odunze. I am feeling that This is off the pure assumption that Marv Harrison does not play. I don't expect him to play again this week, so I do expect Michael Wilson to have himself a day. Harrison has missed 4 of the last 5 games. In those 4 games, Wilson has seen a target share no lower than 29%, and this is with Trey McBride in multiple double-digit target games. So it shows that he is also a main focal point of this offense. He is averaging the Atlanta Falcons are averaging 215 yards per game passing against in the past 3 weeks. So it tells me that Brissett's going to be able to do some work here. And since week 11, Michael Wilson is first with 44 receptions, second with 535 reception yards, and first with 23.1 fantasy points per game. So I do anticipate Michael Wilson to have yet another good game with the pure assumption of Marv Harrison being out.
Yeah, I love this call, and it's strictly because it is a 2-person receiver committee. One's a tight end, one's wide receiver. That's it. That's all you got. So the ball is thrown by Brissett a lot, and it goes to these 2 players a lot. So 100% agree with you on that one. Another guy who hopefully is going to get a higher target share than he has been, Ladd McConkey. Guess who he's playing this week? Because, he's wide receiver and they're terrible. It's not the Bengals, but it is the Cowboys. Most receiving yards allowed in 3,793. Tied most receiving touchdowns with 31 with the Bengals. And then tied third most 20-plus yard catches allowed of 48. Ladd McConkey should absolutely own the middle of the field on Sunday. And I see him getting in for a touchdown as well. And I think this is going to be a get-right game for Justin Herbert, who has had a really bad stretch since his 2 tackles have been out.
No, we love to preach. Start your wide receivers against the Dallas secondary, and they're definitely one of the top 3 defenses that you would want to play your wide receivers against. So wheels up and Ladd McConkey. And I knew you were talking about the Dallas Cowboys when you said it because you emphasized wide receiver. You didn't emphasize tight end, because if you did emphasize tight end, you'd be emphasizing Darren Waller against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. If you guys are listeners at all, if you're first-time listeners, whatever the situation is, there is not a defense on this planet. I think I, as a tight end, can score against the Cincinnati Bengals. Darren Waller is going to be my number 1 flex position of the week. The Bengals defense ranks dead last in the league in fantasy points allowed to tight ends, giving up the league high 15 receiving touchdowns to the position this season. Waller has obviously demonstrated significant touchdown dependability and availability, having caught 6 touchdowns in just 7 games this season. He also is going off a game just last night. Waller his best game of the season against the Steelers, who arguably also have a poor tight end defense. He went 7 passes for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. So Darren Waller is a main focal point of this offense, this passing offense, especially since the departure of Tyreek Hill and due to his injury. And I expect Darren Waller to have a fantastic game against this porous Cincinnati Bengals defense.
Yeah, you knew the differentiation between the Cowboys and the Bengals because I didn't say start every single person you possibly can, right? So Darren Waller's coming off a great game. He should have another great game again because the Bengals are terrible and now not having fun. Number 1 for me, yeah, right. Number 1 for me is Aaron Jones. He's going up against the Giants defense. Second most rush yards allowed in 2,150. Tied 5th most rush touchdowns allowed in 18, and second most 20-plus yard runs allowed in 16. Yes, he comes out of the backfield as well, so he's going to get some points there. But I think he is the focal point right now of the running or in the running committee. I don't even know if it's committee anymore. But Aaron Jones against the Giants defense, I would be ecstatic to start him this week.
No, I am a fan of tooting my own horn, but I am not shy to talk about my wrongs. I was a massive Jordan Mason fan at the beginning of the year. I had Jordan Mason running away with the running back 1 position for the Vikings by this time. It's been far from the case. Jordan Mason's had example of opportunities with Aaron Jones's minor injuries throughout the year, and he has not taken control of that backfield. It's Aaron Jones' backfield. He can catch in the backfield. He can run from the backfield. I love this call against the Giants defense.
So there are 10 really great options, especially in your semifinals, that'll hopefully help you get to the finals, as me and Jeremy are both trying to do ourselves. So we're going to move on here, talk about if you don't have a no trade deadline in your league, why not go for some opportunities and see if you can't catch one of these top players that are being traded right now. So we're going to talk about them. The number one player that I see being traded currently is someone you just talked about, Michael Wilson. So we're going to talk about him, wide receiver, obviously, for the Arizona Cardinals, and see how much love Michael Wilson has been getting for being the number one wide receiver basically in fantasy the last 5 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, something like that. Right now, 2026 second round pick for Michael Wilson. This is 2 quarterback, 12 team, start 12, deep, full PPR, 0.75 tight end premium.
I think if I'm competing, I want Michael Wilson. I don't think this is a fluke. I think what he's doing with Jacoby Brissett it's too consistent for it to be a fluke. It's been like this since week 10. From the stats that I read, again, first in points per game for fantasy players, and first in receptions, and second in yards. If I'm competing in any slight chance whatsoever, I want a piece of this Michael Wilson. But if I'm sitting back and I'm already eliminated and I'm looking at the loser bracket, I'm moving him for a second. I still feel that Marv and Trey are going to gobble up a lot of the targets when Marv comes back. If Marv comes back this year, those targets are going to diminish some. So I'm definitely selling when the iron's hot, but I'm definitely buying while the iron's hot as well, depending on my situation.
All right, I like it. I absolutely agree almost wholeheartedly with what you're saying. I think they're going to find a new quarterback next year that's going to unlock Marvin Harrison Jr. because he is talented. As much as people want to say he's not, he's super talented. They just haven't found the right quarterback to be able to mesh with him yet. And I think he comes back next year and is by far the number one. You have Trey McBride there. You probably have one of the 2 running backs coming back, whether it's James Conner or Trey Benson. So you have a good established running game as well. They're missing the quarterback. I don't think they trust Jacoby Brissett for next year. So what all of that to say, he's probably going to be the 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th option on the team overall. So for a second round pick this year, I would probably say bye-bye. And speaking of that, Michael Wilson for Pat Freiermuth and Quentin Johnston.
I'm taking Pat Freiermuth and Quentin Johnston. Again, for the points that you brought up about Marv next year, and for the points that I brought up about Michael Wilson being a hot commodity present time, I think I'm taking QJ and Pat Freiermuth. But Pat Freiermuth is in a very promising tight end heavy team with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There is some inconsistencies in regards to tight end scoring from either Johnny Smith or Pat Freiermuth. But I like the team that Freiermuth's on. And Quentin Johnston is showing flashes at the beginning of the season were not necessarily that. I know he's come back down to realization here, but that's because of the other wide receivers and Gadsden have come back to have shown up. But I think I'm taking QJ and Freiermuth in this situation.
Yeah, I think it's the same situation as the second round pick. If I'm going for it right now, if I'm in the semifinals, I'm taking Mike Wilson because of this year. Next year, I probably am going to go with the Freiermuth, and if I'm out of it, I should say, I'm probably going with QJ and Freiermuth. And it's nothing else, but I can't see how Freiermuth is on the Steelers next year, or how they keep 3 tight ends, 4 that score touchdowns.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
On the same team. 3 good tight ends, for sure, on the same team. Although the Rams are doing it as well, so who knows? And QJ, yeah, he's he's kind of a boomer bust, especially with Ladd McConkey. But if those tackles can stay healthy, in Joe Alt and Ronnie Stanley,
Yes.
thank you. I wanted to double check that. If they're healthy, Herbert's going to have all the time in the world to just dice people. And who is the best downfield player or downfield target on this team? It is QJ. And that's why they were so successful earlier in the season. Him and Herbert were because Herbert had time and wasn't running for his life every play because the tackles were healthy. So I think if the tackles are healthy next year, you have a very good chance of being that. Yes, he's going to be boom or bust, but he has a very good chance of being one of those players that you could put in your flex if you have a comfortable rest of your lineup. So, yeah, I think QJ's not just shocking this year. I think he's going to be good moving forward. Next up, we have.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, let's move on. What do we got?
Yeah, so next person, we have a running back, Saquon Barkley. Is the second most traded player from the database that I'm looking at. Derrick Henry's the number one, but we've talked about him at least twice in this. So we're going to move on to Saquon this time. This is an interesting one, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I want to know what your thoughts are. 2 quarterback, 12 team, start 11, full PPR, 1 point tight end premium. Garrett Wilson for Jacoby Brissett and Saquon Barkley.
That one, it's an odd combination of players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Garrett Wilson. I'm taking the longevity behind the wide receiver. I know there's some question marks in regards to what quarterback is going to be for the Jets, but it's good question marks on what's going to happen next year and what's going to happen with this upcoming draft. Garrett Wilson is an absolute freak of nature in regards to talent. I'm taking Garrett Wilson in this. Jacoby Brissett is having a fantastic end of the year, but Jacoby Brissett is not the answer to the quarterback problems that the Arizona Cardinals need. He'll be a backup quarterback either next year in the Cardinals or on another team. And in my opinion, I think Saquon Barkley's best years are behind him. I think he emptied the tank last year. I'm not saying he's washed by any means, but I'm taking Garrett Wilson's production over Saquon Barkley's. I'm taking the Garrett Wilson side.
So I go back to the Michael Wilson thing. If this looks all day like the guy lost a quarterback, like maybe he had Mahomes and he needed to make a big move to solidify his semifinals. That's what it looks like to me. If you go for Saquon Barkley and who you know is going to be a backup next year, or most people think he's going to be backup next year in Brissett, for one of the top 5 to 10 pure skill wide receivers in the NFL. I'm shocked by this trade unless you're in the semifinals, lose, like I said, lost Daniel Jones last week or lost Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes this past week. I can't see another reason to make this trade. So, yes, I agree with it if that's your situation. If it's not your situation, terrible trade. Don't do this. This is just disrespectful, in my opinion. Saquon Barkley for RJ Harvey.
That's not close. I'm taking RJ Harvey.
What?
Yeah, that's not close. I'm taking RJ Harvey.
Wow.
Are we talking dynasty?
We're talking dynasty, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking dynasty. I'm standing firm that I think Barkley's best years are behind him, and I think RJ Harvey's are just about to start. I think RJ Harvey is the golden goose that was picked by Sean Payton. I think we're about to see him really start exploding in the backfield. He's already taken advantage of the several opportunities, the minor opportunities that he has. If you're going with complete resume, yeah, you're right. It's Saquon Barkley. But if I'm looking at a dynasty perspective right now, I'm making that trade 9 times out of 10. And I'm taking the RJ Harvey side.
Wow. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on that. Because Saquon's, 29, 28? Whatever it is. He's in the Derrick Henry realm. I don't think he's done yet. And that Eagles offense could blow up at any second. You just don't know. I don't believe in RJ Harvey. I think they are going to find another running back to complement him. I don't think he's an every down back. So because of that, I would rather have Saquon Barkley.
That's a good question then, because we complete opposites.
Yeah. I thought that was a smash Saquon Barkley. So, wow. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to quarterback here because I want to save in my opinion, the best one for last. And we just talked about Jacoby Brissett, so we'll move on with him. Jacoby, yeah, so Jacoby Brissett for a 2026 second round pick.
Taking the pick.
27, probably the same then.
Yeah, taking the pick. I think I'm going to take the pick. If I have an opportunity to sell a predominant backup quarterback for anything that is worth a damn in value, I'm selling them. Again, mind you, if I'm in a situation where I've lost Daniel Jones and I need Jacoby Brissett to carry me in the semis, there's an asterisk with all of these ones that we're talking about. But in the standard aspect, if I have an opportunity to flip a backup quarterback for a second round pick, I'm doing it.
I agree with you. Again, I think he's a backup, so I think moving a second round pick for that would make sense unless you're in the playoffs and you have Jacoby Brissett because he looks like he's just going to eat the rest of the year, like just go nuts the rest of the year. You said Daniel Jones, so this is an interesting question. Daniel Jones for Jacoby Brissett straight up.
That is a good one.
Yeah, again, this looks like it was probably a player who lost Daniel Jones, to be in the playoff to solidify the playoff team. I can't see another reason why you would make this trade.
Yeah, that's a good one though, because like short term, are you having more of a longevity with Jacoby Brissett? Like Daniel Jones isn't coming back from no broken collarbone. Like Daniel Jones ruptures Achilles. Like a serious injury for any athlete, let alone a quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers has been doing well, but Aaron Rodgers isn't the same Aaron Rodgers as he was prior to that Achilles tear.
But it took me a year and a half to get there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know, man. I think I'm taking Brissett. I think I'm taking Brissett just because I'm a little concerned about the damaged goods of what Daniel Jones is going to have and what he's going to be able to produce like and play like. And Brissett, I think I can do more with now. And even if they use Brissett as a transition quarterback for whatever rookie that they draft, if they draft a rookie, for example, like here's in the Cardinals, that is, you're still going to get early season playing by Brissett. And he's showing what he can do, the caliber type player that he is. Daniel Jones, we have no idea what kind of player he is post Achilles. So I think I'm going to take Brissett.
Yeah, I would take Brissett as well because I've been on record on this show saying, yes, Daniel Jones is having a great year. Do it again. Because he did the same thing with the Giants and then had an absolutely god-awful year and lost the starting job. But again, it looks like this is probably a trade. He lost Daniel Jones, needed a quarterback, made the move to solidify a championship or something like that. So, and then finally, we have George Kittle, which I was really shocked that George Kittle was the number 1 traded tight end, and then Kelsey's the number 2 traded tight end with their ages and how good some of these young guys are. So this one's kind of interesting. So George Kittle in a 27 second for Tucker Kraft in a 26 third.
It's a good one because, again, you're dealing with somebody who's coming from an injury and you don't really know what kind of goods you're dealing with. I think I'm taking Kittle in the second. It's a better pick, and it's a better tight end. I know Tucker Kraft had himself one hell of a beginning of the year, but that's really the sample size that we had, and it's a very crowded wide receiver room. Christian Watson is now back and healthy. Golden is now healthy. So these are now targets that were missing during Kraft's explosion. And like I said, you're getting a better pick with the Kittle deal. I think I'm going to take Kittle in the second.
Interesting. I like the pick better, and I don't think they're too far off. So I would probably tend to agree, but it would only be because the pick's a little bit better. I do think Tucker Kraft is a freak and has so much rapport with Love. Even coming off of the injury. 2 more for George Kittle because I see them back to back. So we're just going to do this real quick. I was shocked to see this one. George Kittle for Dalton Schultz straight up.
No, I don't like that at all. I'm taking Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, the way Schultz has been playing down the stretch, I kind of understand it, but I mean,
I'm going with overall. Yeah, I'm going with overall.
Yeah, they're about the same age. Like, Kittle can go off any week. Like, it doesn't make sense. That one doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last one, we're gonna tag team this one actually. So George Kittle for Harold Fannin in a 26-second, or Kate Otten in a 26-second.
I'm gonna go with Fannin in a second over Kittle. And I'm gonna go Kittle over Otten in a second.
That's exactly how I would do it.
All right, cool. So yeah, we're in agreement. No, so, yeah.
The only thing that would worry me is if they re-sign David Njoku. I can't see that happening. But you get a second-round pick who, in a, again, okay class. But Harold Fannin, if there's no Njoku, and hopefully Shador's not throwing the ball to him, he looks like he could be a dude. Like top 5 tight end, guy you don't have to worry about, set it, forget it, that's it, done. Especially with no wide receivers on this team, really. So I really like where the Harold Fannin move. Not saying that George Kittle can't go off any week, like I've said before, but you're getting extremely younger, an extra pick. And again, if Njoku doesn't come back, he's the focal point of this offense until they find a wide receiver they can trust. And then for Kate Otten, if people are, you have to have, the only way Kate Otten works is if 2 or 3 of the wide receivers on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are hurt. So I don't really want to worry about that. So I want nothing to do with Kate Otten if I have an opportunity to not have him. Even though there is a nice second-round pick involved as well. And you are getting a little bit younger, but it's not anywhere near as much as Harold Fannin. And George Kittle, again, can go off any week. He's one of those set-and-forget-it guys that I believe Harold Fannin can be. So
you nailed it with Otten. Otten is a great tight end, and Otten's a great red zone target for Baker Mayfield if the Buccaneers aren't healthy. The Buccaneers are starting to turn into the Green Bay Packers in regards to having just this beyond deep well of wide receivers available. They have Evans, they have Ibuka, they got Godwin, they got Jalen McMillan, they got Otten. Like they have so many pieces, and that's where Otten definitely takes the hit. Is because you need to have an injury or two for him to be successful.
They have 4 wide receivers that are legit. They have 3 running backs that are legit. They have Otten. Like, that might be the most weapons in the entire NFL.
It's very possible.
So, yeah, obviously the tight end is going to lose a little bit when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka, who has looked good. Hasn't recently, but looked good. And then Jalen McMillan looks good as well when he gets an opportunity. He just can't get on the field right now. And he was hurt early. So, yeah, full agreement on this last one for sure. I would go Fannin in the pick, then Kittle, then Otten in the pick.
I like that. I like that the three-way. That was decent.
So, all right. So, anything else you wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think we had ourselves a very good episode here. I think we helped our listeners with our flex positions and calling out some certain things, and hopefully we helped them out with the trade calculators. Hopefully they don't have any trade deadlines, so they can be fruitful and do whatever they need to do to help benefit them in these next few weeks here for fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, and we talked about, I have to bring this up real quick. We talked about getting Stephon Diggs last week, and you guys talked about Travis Etienne the week prior, and I said I was going to go get him. I went and got him. He was one of the main reasons that I won that league that past week, which was really funny because it was against Honey Badger, and he was the one who said that. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick, which was really funny. So I listen to our podcast, and I actually do what we suggest, and it works out every once in a while. So next week, we're going to talk about our rookies. I know you say it's too early, but I have a reasoning for this. We are going to find out who to watch in the college football playoff. I know there will probably only be 8 teams left by the time we talk about it. So we'll talk about those 8 teams and who's on it, who makes sense to kind of look at for your team for next year moving forward. So Also, definitely want to remind everybody, 2 games on Saturday. Make sure your lineup's set Friday night, Saturday morning, not just Sunday. Obviously, there's a game on Thursday as well. Good game, too. I believe it's the Seahawks and the Rams.
I do know the game Thursday is Seahawks and Rams, but I was unaware that there's games on Saturday.
Yeah, so because the college football season is just bowl games and they play all the time, they take over Saturday. NFL takes over Saturday as well, starting now. So you're going to have Saturday games pretty much every week moving forward.
So we have 3 games. We have Thursday night. It's confirmed. We have the Rams at the Seahawks. Saturday at 5 o'clock, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. And then immediately after that, at 8:20 kickoff, we have the Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears.
Oh, that'll be 2 out of 3 good games. Sounds good.
Yeah, there's a lot of fantasy implications and some fantasy players with these teams. So, best of luck for everybody. Get your lineups in, and hopefully when we meet up again and you are as successful as we are.
Going to be, absolutely. We're both going to the finals. So, well, you're already in the finals. I'm going to the finals. So,
yes.
We'll talk next week. And for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This is the Dynasty from the Mountaintops. Check us out on YouTube, Podbean, or Apple. Also, we have socials with Blue Sky and X at dynastymttops. And then email us at dynastymttops@gmail.com for any comments, questions, show ideas that you have going through. For Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This is the Dynasty from the Mountaintops. Have a great week. Good luck.
Thanks, everybody.